Spring practice isn't just about the upcoming season, it's also key for Ohio State's recruiting future.
You are Locked On Buckeyes, your daily podcast on the Ohio State Buckeyes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome in, Buckeye fans, to your Monday edition of Locked On Buckeyes, which is your daily Ohio State podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Jay Stevens, also the host of the Jay Stevens Podcast, and today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get you $100 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. During today's show, we'll discuss how Ohio State can lean into winning the Natty to help them on the recruiting trail. But first, every single year during spring practice, a lot of attention is put on Ryan Day, Brian Hartline, the defensive coaches, and what they're doing to build Ohio State to be a force in the fall. There's no problem with that, and I think they deserve to get a lot of attention. But there also needs to be attention about what Ohio State is doing on the recruiting trail. There are going to be a lot of recruits that come to Ohio State during their 15 spring practices, visiting the Buckeyes, and some may eventually get offers, while some are there to kind of solidify themselves and to keep Ohio State at the forefront of their mind, being able to see a Buckeye practice and see how the coaches coach. All that's geared towards for these young men to see what it's like to be there on campus at The Ohio State University. And Ohio State can use this time period to set the right foundation for the recruiting class. If you start right now to build the recruiting class from the right areas and to set the foundation, you might have a more well-rounded recruiting class than the Buckeyes have had in quite a long time. And setting the right foundation is huge for any team. I remember maybe about 5 or 6 years ago now, I was a big Colin Cowherd fan. I used to listen to him on the ESPN radio, and then when he moved over to Fox Sports Radio, I listened to that religiously as well. And Colin Cowherd made a comment that kind of stuck with me. You can try to build your offense or your defense from the outside in, but you'll be flawed and do it using that method. Yeah, you can have an elite receiver here or two elite receivers on the outside, and you can have a really good running back and a good tight end. On defense, you can have a good corner and a good safety and a good middle linebacker. But if you don't start from the middle with the offensive lineman and with the defensive lineman and making sure the trenches are intact, the method you're using to build your roster is flawed. And the same thing goes in recruiting. If you try to make sure you got a good quarterback, that's cool. That's great. You need a good quarterback. Try to make sure you got some elite receivers like Chris Simmons Jr. Cool. That's great. You need guys like that on your roster. But if you avoid looking at center, 2 guards, 2 tackles, if you avoid looking at 2 defensive tackles, 2 defensive ends, and maybe try to get 5 or 6 guys on either on the defensive line to try to make that unit a whole lot more solid on the recruiting cycle. If you don't focus there, there's a problem. And you'll probably be in a scenario where Ohio State is right now. Where Ohio State, if you look at their O-line recruiting, has it been up to par? No, it hasn't. What has been a big issue? The Buckeyes have tried to go after some big names while also going after some guys on the off of the line in the state of Ohio. You can hit on some of those guys that are in the state you're playing in. While at the same time, you might end up missing on some guys that are national names. And while missing on some of those guys, Ohio State maybe sometimes trying to put the piece together at the end of the day and trying to figure out how they can get a 4th or a 5th offensive lineman right before the early national signing day, and you're setting yourself up for failure by doing that. But if you start right now, and Ohio State has been very fortunate to have a lot of visitors recently within the first week of spring practice, where Tyler Bowen, who's a new guy, who's doing, from what we're reading, is doing a lot of things correct on the recruiting trail to try to boost Ohio State's O-line recruiting. You can get there and talk to him. You can go in there and see what he's like on a regular basis, especially when he's new. Now, if Justin Frye was still at Ohio State, you can look back to what Frye did in the latter half of the regular season, going into the playoff with a lot of the injuries and the reshuffling on the O-line, and say, oh, okay, he could develop. We've got a lot of good play from the Buckeyes' 8th and 9th offensive lineman a year ago, so that's a great recruiting tool. But when you're a new coach at a position of need in recruiting, this time period is huge for you because you can show everybody and their mama what you're all about. And while showing them what you're all about, you can say, okay, we already got one offensive lineman on the recruiting trail. He's the 114th nationally ranked player in this current cycle, the ninth best offensive tackle. So you're top 10 in your position. You're also in the state of Ohio at about 6'5", 280. So you have a good frame already. You're going to add probably 20 to 30 pounds when the young man comes to Ohio State. That's great. That's a great building block. But you need more of them. You need more building blocks. Go over to the defensive line. I'm not really upset that the Buckeyes don't have any verbal commitments from guys on the defensive line. No, because sometimes O linemen or D linemen, they have a similar mindset where they're going to wait a little bit longer before naming where they're going to play football or verbally committing to a place. That's cool. And even with the verbal commitment, it's kind of like something written in pencil. It's easy to erase. And that's the same thing with verbal commitments. No matter if it's a guy, it's a 5-star, or a guy's a 3-star. Doesn't matter what stars are next to his name. It's the reality. Him verbally committing to you is similar to his name being written in pencil. It's easy to erase. And that should go for anybody. Verbally committing to something is cool. But these coaches, you're not starting now. You're trying to continue the process to get these guys to commit to Ohio State. Keep pursuing them. Keep creating relationships and cultivating relationships and trying to figure out what you can do to lure that guy to play football in Columbus, Ohio. And for these two position groups right now, I don't really have an issue with Larry Johnson at all. He's missed some, he's lost some. That's going to happen. It's part of life. But for the offensive line, you're probably in a spot where you need to get 6 or 7 offensive linemen. Where normally in a given year, I'm a person that always believes you need to get 5 O-linemen, preferably one at each position. Left tackle, left guard, center, right guard, right tackle. That's preferred. Now, you may get 2 right tackles and in hopes of moving a guy to left tackle and teaching in that position, cool. Also, on defensive side, you may get a guy to 3 tech. Oh, cool. Well, he might be better at 1 tech, or you may get a defensive end, and he's better at 3 tech. Okay. You want guys that are not only going to be great building blocks for you, but also that are versatile. I mean, think about the O-line a year ago. I mean, we could talk about the D-line too with Edric Houston, but think about the O-line a year ago where you lose your starting left tackle, your backup left tackle, you lose your starting center, and all of a sudden, your starting left guard goes to left tackle, your backup center was at left guard, and then your backup center who was then at left guard goes to center. And all of a sudden, you're trying, even before that, I always forget that Austin Serveld started at left guard game 1 because Donovan Jackson was out due to an illness. I mean, there's so many things with the O-line last year that are just showing about how Justin Fry got the thing done in the year. But Tyler Bowen has to continue that on the field, but also on the recruiting trail. Edric Houston's a great example of a guy that came in with versatility written all over him as a prospect. He comes out the defensive end. He moves to 3 tech, a defensive tackle. And next thing you know, right now, at the end of his freshman season of football, people are saying he's bigger than he was last year when he played ball. And ball just got done on January 20th. What does that say about him? Oh, man, he's not only fully bought into playing Buckeye football, he's not only fully bought into Coach Mick Mariotti's way of doing things as far as the strength and conditioning and the nutrition. He might be a force on the field because you started with the foundation. You absolutely need to get the foundation of the recruiting cycle correct. And you can start doing that right now. Another thing Ohio State can start doing currently is something that might be a little bit different for some coaches at Ohio State while altering their mindset on recruiting and taking a different tactic. It could lead to some big results in the fall. This episode is brought to you by Factor. Eating healthy doesn't have to be complicated. With Factor, you get chef-made, dietitian-approved meals that are ready to heat and eat in just 2 minutes, so you can fuel your body without the hassle of cooking. Factor meals arrive fresh, never frozen, and with 40 options across 8 dietary preferences each week, you can customize your menu to fit your goals, whether that's Calorie Smart, Protein Plus, or Keto. I love how Factor keeps you on track with healthy, delicious meals without the time-consuming prep. The Korean beef bowl and creamy Parmesan chicken are some of my favorites. They taste homemade, but take no effort. Eat smart with Factor. Get started at factormeals.com/factorpodcast and use code factorpodcast to get 50% off your first box plus free shipping. That's code factorpodcast at factormeals.com/factorpodcast to get 50% off plus free shipping on your first box. Get the supplies you need from the site made for the skilled trades. Supply House. Whether you're in plumbing, HVAC, or electrical work, Supply House is a reliable way to order products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Plus, with a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from 400 plus top brands, you'll find exactly what you need, delivered fast from coast to coast. Need help with an order? Supply House offers expert support and industry-leading service, so you'll always talk to a real person. And for trade pros looking for an extra edge, their free Trade Master program offers exclusive perks like a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every order. Thousands of skilled professionals are already taking advantage. Now it's your time. Join the Trade Master program today at supplyhouse.com/TM and start ordering plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies with just a few clicks. Plus, use promo code SH5 for 5% off your first order. That's supplyhouse.com. Thank y'all for tapping Locked on Buckeyes and making this show your first listen of the day. One thing Ohio State can do in the fall, really right now in spring practice, let's not go to the fall in regards to the recruiting, is making sure they set the right foundation. But while trying to make sure they set the right foundation during spring practice, the Buckeyes can also cast a wide net and make sure they're not just trying to focus on just a few of the top recruits at a particular position, but be aggressive, be very specific, but also make sure you cast a wide net to try to make sure you're offering scholarships to a lot of guys out there. And I'm not just sitting up here saying that you could be a guy that ain't played no high school ball, that may be a project that's for another school down the road, but because you're feeling generous, you hand an offer to them. No, you got to make sure you take calculated risks. But while doing that, you realize you're handing an offer to a guy that you have seen with your own two eyes, or maybe somebody brought something to you and you have taken some time to think about, to digest the things you're watching before handing in an offer. One thing that some coaches do, and this isn't just an Ohio State thing, this is a college football thing, where some coaches will focus on just maybe the top guys or just the guys in their own geographic region in their state and a few surrounding states and say, this is where we're going to go. This is as far as I want the net to go. And while there may be a guy in a state that's just outside of that area where they cast their regional net, you may realize, well, that guy that's just outside of that regional net may be someone that fits you perfectly, but because he's so far away with the mileage between you and his school, you say no. Well, that can't happen. Or you want to make sure you get only 5-star guys. And because you want to focus on the stars next to their name, instead of looking at, well, there may be a 3-star kid and we think has 5-star potential, but due to his 3-star status now, we're not going to go after him. That sounds foolish, doesn't it? It's just as foolish because we know it's real. We know coaches, or you have heard about coaches that just focus on certain guys in a geographic region, or certain guys via their recruiting status, via some recruiting databases out there. That don't make no sense. When you want to change, you need to do something different. It's a wild concept, isn't it? And I want to keep where I am. I want to keep my I want to get a better financial status, and I want to be able to expand my own career and do that. I know I've gotten advice from people that say, well, I got to do X, Y, and Z, and while doing X, Y, and Z, I'm going to learn certain things. I'm going to add things to my resume. Next thing you know, my career will be further. But I want to sit back in my chair with my hands behind my head and just chill for a little bit. I don't care about what's around me. I don't care about anybody else, but I want to do things so I am comfortable. And I don't want to stretch myself. I don't want to do the things you ask me to do. Cool. What's going to happen? You're going to get a result that is one you don't want. Because if you want to further your own career professionally, you might have to do something different. Okay. In regards to recruiting, we know of coaches. I'm not sitting here trying to call no names. You guys are smart enough to know and have heard about things that have happened. Oh, I'll just do one. On the offensive line, let's go back to that position because it has been a really negative thing for Ohio State over the past few years about Ohio State not even getting the quantity of players. not just a quality of players. They've gotten quality players over the past few years, but when you need more quantity, maybe 5 or 6 guys in a cycle, they're struggling to do that because the net they're casting is not as wide as it needs to be. Now, there may be an aggressive nature to this in regards to the way you want to cast the net. I just want to say wide. Kids in Ohio, who is a 4-star kid by whatever 1, 3, or 247 Sports, whatever database is out there, and you see him, you're like, oh man, he's good, but it's something about him that doesn't sit well with me. Maybe it's his grades, maybe it's something with him personally. I don't know. Maybe he's not a cultural fit, or maybe he's not a scheme fit, whatever it may be. You may say, oh man, he's an Ohio kid. He has all the goods. His family's good. But something about him just doesn't fit well. I'm still going to offer him anyway. Why would you do that? Well, he's in my geographic region. But if he's not a fit, don't do it. You have to get out of your own way sometimes and do things that might make you a little uncomfortable, might make you travel a little bit more, might make you a little bit disgruntled because you're working harder to get a big-time result. But that's life. Think about your career. And although there are a lot of people that listen to this and even watching this that are career-minded people that have been in their same career for 15 or 20 or maybe even 30 years, and they realize that they had to take some risk. While taking risk, you may stumble upon something that works out very well for you, but that's going to stretch you a little bit further too. Stretching you and doing things outside of your comfort zone, it's not bad. Not bad at all. We have all had to work on things and try to get out of our own way. And while doing that, what do we find? We benefit, but also everybody on our team benefits. And that's one thing I don't want to gloss over in regards to not just setting the foundation, but also everybody doing things to cast a wider net. I mean, Carlos Lachlan going to the portal back-to-back years wants to get Quinshon Judkins. Well, I think Judkins was there before Lachlan got on campus, so I can't really say that. But this year, getting Donaldson when he did and Peoples, really, Williams-Dixon was in the portal. So while he was already a Buckeye, Lachlan and Williams-Dixon didn't have the best relationship. I won't say it was horrible, but when you don't really talk to a position coach, that doesn't really mean things are going well. And sometimes that means you might want to transfer because you might not be there. You might not fit in, and he may not buy in everything you're doing. I'm not really sure. But every coach can benefit. Larry Johnson, Matt Patricia, fill in the blank coach at Ohio State. They can all benefit from casting a wider net. And that's what you want. You want to make sure you can help yourself while helping somebody else on your team. About accomplishing both goals, you'll be fine. You'll be better prepared in recruiting and working towards 2027 season, 2028, 2029 seasons because of your work right now during spring practice. If your focus during spring practice is only about the upcoming season, you forsake recruiting, you might lose some recruiting battles to some big boys in the sport, and you also may lose some more to Oregon, which will make every Buckeye fan upset because not only did Ohio State lose some recruiting battles to Oregon on the recruiting side, Derek Harmon a year ago went to the portal, battle between Ohio State and Oregon. The former Michigan State player went to Oregon and had a good game the first time the Bucks and Ducks met on the field out there in Eugene. This current transfer portal cycle, one in the winter, Dylan Finneman, a safety that would have been a great pair alongside Caleb Downs, ended up going to Oregon as well. It's not a bad thing. That's, hey, we're shooting our shot. And while shooting our shot, we're going to hit some, we're going to lose some. But also, when we keep shooting and we keep going with a wider net, we're going to benefit everybody. Because if homie across the hall sees me trying to go after somebody that's a little unconventional but could benefit us in the future, they might try that same tactic too. Well, those are a couple goals that the Buckeyes have during spring practice. There's one more goal that's tied to the Buckeyes' national championship win last season. We'll talk about that one next. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. March Madness is here, and FanDuel is giving you the chance to get in on the action like never before. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. That's $200 extra bucks to use on everything from buzzer beaters to Cinderella stories and to even who's cutting down the nets. I've got my eye on a few underdogs this year, and FanDuel makes it easy to back them with spreads, totals, and game props. With tournament games happening almost every day, there's always something exciting to bet on. The FanDuel app is simple to use, and when I win, I get paid instantly. So visit FanDuel.com and get in on the college hoop action all tournament long.
The NCAA tournament is here, and so is the Bracket Breakdown.
Locked On Podcast Network and Amazon Fire TV channels are teaming up to deliver NCAA tournament coverage like never before. Watch studio shows featuring former players and Locked On's local experts as they guide you through every upset, buzzer beater, and bracket matchup.
Stream it all for free on Amazon Fire TV channel. Search Bracket Breakdown to see it all for free.
It's your team every day.
Thank y'all for tapping Locked On Buckeyes and making this show your first listen of the day. Ohio State has goals every single year. During the spring, during the summer, pick a season and we have throughout the year, the Buckeyes have goals. And while the Buckeyes have goals, you can't gloss over the recruiting in the spring. Set the right foundation, make sure you cast a wide net. But number 3, and maybe it's one that ties into everything we talked about earlier in the show, Buckeyes are able to lean into winning the national championship to help them on the recruiting trail. You may say, Jay, it's a no-brainer. Cool, because it should be. But some coaches might not want to. Why wouldn't you want to? Why wouldn't you want to tie into winning the trophy that every team sets out to win at the beginning of the season? There are 134 FBS teams out there, and all of them work and grind and pursue and prepare with one goal in mind: winning a national championship. Now, before the season, a coach might say to himself and to his inner circle, man, if we 500, we'll be good this year. When you say it to the players, 500? Coach, I know we were 3-9 last year, but only adding 3 wins to a record from a year ago to benefit that way and to go from 3-9 to 6-6, that's all? Wouldn't you want to win a trophy? Well, yeah, but no, ain't no yeah, but wouldn't you want to win a trophy? Yeah. Well, let's do what's needed for us to win a trophy. Great. I don't think you're talking about just a potentially winning a trophy at a bowl game. What if you're winning a trophy for the national championship? And it's the most miraculous turnaround and one that no one ever expected. That's great. What's also great, and it's even greater, is Ohio State won the Natty. They won the national championship. And the man that led the team to winning the national championship is still the head ball coach for the Ohio State Buckeyes. That's one of the best recruiting tools any coach can have right now. And that if you're Matt Patricia, who wasn't at Ohio State a year ago, but he has 3 Super Bowl rings of his own. He's coming in to work alongside Ryan Day, who just won the Natty last year, following up after Jim Knowles, who had a great 3-year run running the Buckeyes defense. What else do you want? Oh, Matt Patricia bringing NFL experience. He knows what it's like to see a guy in college and say, that guy is going to be an NFL player, or he can fit into this defense. Why? Because he has an eye for talent. While you have an eye for talent, you're going to talk to certain kids. You're going to talk a certain way to certain kids because you know they can pick up on what you're putting down. And while that's the case, what are you going to say to them? Do you want to be a part of a winning culture? Of course they do. Of course. Do you want to be a part of a national championship winning culture? Of course. That is a way for you to get the guys that you want. But also, there's only one team out there in the country that can lean into that narrative. Not even narrative, it's that truth. Michigan can't do it. Alabama can't do it. Oregon can't do it. Georgia can't do it. Somebody else from Georgia got caught by the cops and did some stuff they shouldn't have been doing. What is up with the Georgia Bulldogs? I don't know why it just popped into my head, but why is it every offseason a speeding ticket? Somebody does something here that cause physical harm to somebody, and all of a sudden somebody, what is going on? Now you may say, well, Jay, Carson Beck got his car. Carson Beck's in Miami. I ain't gonna tie him to that school no more. I probably should. But what is going on with Georgia? Is this what happens when Georgia doesn't win the national championship, or they just go off the rails? No, all jokes aside, I wasn't trying to joke there, but that came out. That's not good for Georgia at all. But Georgia can't even use that narrative. No, they can't. And actually, Michigan's might get vacated. With the stuff that came out after about one of their coaches that was doing some really illegal stuff, it wouldn't shock me if the NCAA comes down and says, "Oh, vacating wins, vacating trophies, vacating the national championship win, victim titles, so those are going away too." It wouldn't shock me at all if that was the result. Why? Because how bad that stuff was. But that stuff's bad. They can't use that narrative. No. Ohio State can. Ohio State has the ring. They have the banner. They have things that we watched on TV while they're winning the national championship that should be used on the recruiting trail. Absolutely. You're going to be able to find a way to figure out who wants it and who doesn't. I was covering a basketball game on Saturday evening, talked to the assistant coach after the game, and he talked about, I forget the question I asked. I said, what do you learn about your team in a close battle like this? They won the game 116 to 113. That's a great defense down the stretch. And he mentioned and said, man, you figure out what guys won it. I'm thinking that's a great answer. I wasn't sure where he was going to go. Him and I haven't talked many times, so I'm still trying to feel out and figure out the right questions to ask to get the best answer out of him. Well, that's a great answer. You figure out what guys won it. And if you look at someone's eyes, we're talking about the national championship, and while they're there on a visit and they're trying to figure out if Ohio State's a place for them to play football, you could look at that young man's eyes and you could tell while talking about the national championship if he wants it or if he doesn't. Similar to body language when you're watching a sport. No matter if it's the NBA or the NCAA tournament like many of us are watching now, doesn't matter what the sport is, you can look at someone's body language and quickly tell if they are all there or if they're in a different land. It's real. Many Cavs fans, I'm going to bring up a name that might annoy you, is J.R. Smith. Game 1 of the NBA Finals against the Warriors. I forget the year, but everybody knows J.R. Smith got that rebound, went back towards half court. LeBron got upset. LeBron put both hands out and was a little animated in his response. But what was it? Was J.R. Smith all the way there? I'm not going to say yes or no. You can answer that question. But you can tell by looking at the guy's eyes if he wants to be a part of a winning culture, to go through the grind, to do what is needed to be a Buckeye, or if he doesn't. You can use that right now. I believe Ohio State's had a few dozen players on visits right now during spring practice. That's great. That's huge. Make sure the Buckeyes must focus on those three things: setting the right foundation, casting a wide net, and leaning into winning the Natty while hosting these recruits on campus during spring practice in 2025. Thank you for making Locked On Buckeyes your first listen today. For your second listen, check out the Locked On College Basketball with Isaac Shade and Andy Patton. Guys, March is here. To be the most informed college basketball fan throughout the madness, find Locked On College Basketball and Locked On Buckeyes on the YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. You can follow me on any social media platform at jstevens07. Send every email to jstevens317@gmail.com. It's Locked On Buckeyes on a Monday. We'll see you next time.